welcome back to the Lawkward Chronicles. My name is Larissa, and today we have our book club discussion here on the Lawkward Chronicles, and that is going to be on Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. July's Lawkward book club pick was Kaikeyi, picked by yours truly, because that's how they all are. And this is a Hindu mythological retelling about Kaikeyi, which is a spin-off of Ramayana mythology. I'm not super familiar with Hindu mythology, didn't know much going into it, and absolutely adored it. It was a really great story about growing up in a woman's oppressed community and feeling like a power struggle and just every phase of life and how things can change and sometimes how things can be affected and the ripples effect and the connections made. It's just a great story. To begin with, let's read the description so you know. Also, after the description, it will be spoiler filled. So if you have not read this and you want to and you don't want to know any spoilers, please exit out and go check out the spoiler free reading vlog and then come back when you have read it or when you want to know more about the book. All right, so the synopsis is: I was born on the full moon under an auspicious constellation, the holiest of positions. Much good it did me. So begins Kaikeyi's story, the only daughter of the kingdom of Kaikeyi. She is raised on tales of the gods, how they churned the vast ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, how they vanquish evil and ensure the land of Bharat prospers, and how they offer powerful boons to the worthy. Yet she watches as her father unceremoniously banishes her mother, listens as her own worth is reduced to the marriage alliance she can secure, and when she calls upon the gods for help, they never seem to hear. Desperate for independence, she turns to the texts she once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. With it, Kaikeyi transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and most favored queen. But as the evil from her childhood stories threatens the cosmic order, the path she has forged clashes with the destiny of the gods have chosen for her family, and Kaikeyi must decide if resistance is worth the destruction it will wreak, and what legacy she intends to leave behind. She's such a badass, a revolutionary woman, like just the things that she achieved as a woman in an oppressed community is just phenomenal, and obviously that goes with the influence of her husband too that supports her. It was a really great look at how big of an influence us women can make in the world, and I really enjoyed that. Starting off, I have linked the book club discussion questions below that I will be using. I have modified a few and cut out a few, but I have supplied the link to where I got these questions, and guess what? I did not prepare. I have read through them, but I haven't like formulated any answers, so we're going in blind together. Great, we love that. Have you read or heard any version of the Ramayana before? If yes, how did they impact your reading experience? Do you think people would benefit from knowing the story of Ramayana before reading Kaikeyi? I knew nothing about Ramayana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm so sorry if I am not, but I knew nothing about that story before going into Kaikeyi. I am interested in knowing what it is now. I will probably do some research of that and like read up on that story, because knowing this story now, I really am interested in knowing what that mythology says. As for, do you think you should know about it before going into the story? I don't think so. I mean, I picked up on the general basis of it. I feel like it gives a good overview, especially in the author's note. I only read the first page of the author's note at the beginning of the book, and that kind of helped get me in the mindset as to like what this was about, what happened, or what the stories say about it. So yeah, I don't think it's quite necessary to go into it with the knowledge of Ramayana, but it could be helpful. And it would also be kind of cool to see what the differences are. On one hand, it's a great prequel, but on the other hand, going into it, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary, so there's that. How do you feel about the binding plane? Did you feel when Kaikeyi used the binding plane? I thought the binding plane was fascinating. So interesting in the sense of like, it's just cool. It's a way to see, I mean, for her to see her connections and influence on people and whether they have a strong bond and whether she feels comfortable with certain people and is able to negotiate as well as see who she can get on her side for a lot of this stuff. However, kind of was nerve-wracking every time she used it, especially when in high stress situations when she would cause vibrations and potential severing of those ties. Also, the fact that it was manipulative. I don't like that manipulation, and that's what she accused Rama of doing, is like manipulating people and forcing people to do his will. He was doing it unknowingly while she was doing it knowingly. So that's the other issue, is like, because Rama didn't know that that's what he was doing, and like that's why he had control over people. He just like sensed it, where she knew what she was doing and proceeded to do it too. On one hand, a lot of the stuff that she did was for the good of her people when she like grew up with age and whatnot. She was using all her resources as a woman in a society who did not value women's opinions. So I'm gonna give it the okay. All right, how do you feel about the feminist aspects of the story? What makes Kaikeyi feminist? I loved them. I thought it was a great story about just how women can band together and create a better world for everyone, as well as especially women too. The fact that Kaikeyi wants women to be able to work at stalls without their husbands, as well as live lives without fear of being beaten or abused by their husbands, which is the bare minimum, as well as just like wanting to choose her own path. She didn't get to choose her husband. She felt like she did because she got to state that her firstborn son was going to be the throne, but you know, we saw how that turned out, and that was not good. She wants a better life for women and for everybody because it helps everybody. She wanted to so fiercely be independent and be able to protect herself, and the fact that she got her brother to train her and make her feel like, it made her feel strong and empowered. I just loved it. Loved it so much. How does Kaikeyi transform and grow as a character over the course of the book? Obviously, from when she first shattered her bond in the binding plane with one of her servants. She was a child. She just wanted to get what she wanted. She was kind of bratty, but also felt neglected and unseen. She just had her father and her brothers as her family. And obviously she chose Manthara too as a chosen family. Her father and her brothers, her brothers could only understand so much, but still, she was a woman. Her opinions didn't really matter all that much. No matter how much they valued her at the time, when it came to it, like, no one ever really stuck up for her. Then she became older, she came into her own, she came into her position at Kaikeyi, and then was married off and had to find her way there. It was a really great representation of just confidence, as well as just like growing into womanhood and figuring yourself out. It was a very coming of age, as well as like going into motherhood and just all of the knowledge that you get along the way from all of those experiences. With age comes wisdom, and she definitely had that as well. What did you expect from Kaikeyi's relationships with Kausalya and Sumitra? Did her relationship surprise you? If so, in what ways? I was very shocked that they were all so close. Like, they called each other sisters, because me, myself, and I am very much like jealous and would not be a fan of the polygamous relationships that they had. So I thought that was really fascinating that they were so close. How do you feel about the Women's Council? In what ways did the Women's Council shape the story? It was so cool. Obviously they just wanted to help a few and ended up really helping a lot of people that felt like they never were heard at court, primarily females. I just loved that Dasharatha was so supportive of that gave all the women power. Oh, it just made me so happy, and I loved that it was like a safe space for everyone to come and be heard and have their problems solved or resolved, and that they did so much good in the community, grew into more of like women having power, which resulted into just so many things going. I mean, like Kausalya, she was in charge of a lot of stuff for a while the whole like throne aspect was going down. It gave the people confidence that their problems were being handled and that they were in safe hands. And it was a huge aspect of how women were able to gain respect in that way. And other women in the community were able to stand up for themselves against horrible husbands and abusers. There's a recurring theme of owning actions in Kaikeyi. At no point is Manthara blamed. What does it mean to take responsibility for your actions? In what ways does Kaikeyi show that? She doesn't like tell anybody or reason with anybody as to like why things happen. She's just like, oh, I done goofed. It's on me. And that's that. It's so funny because in the original tale, as what was said in the author's note, that Manthara was blamed for it, whereas like that was never a key detail in anything. Like that was not there at all. Kind of playing into what a question that's coming up later on with a quote, but taking responsibility is huge. And like while your mentors and teachers and everything can teach you about something, it is super important to form your own opinion and act in the appropriate ways. If something seems wrong, to not always follow that, to keep exploring different options as well as ways of thinking. I didn't answer that very well. How do you feel about the portrayal of Rama in this retelling? Ravana and Sita. Okay, so Rama, I did not like him at all. I know he's supposed to be like on this quest, but yeah, he had that one dude, that one teacher, just super misogynistic and going against everything that his mothers had taught him. He was just so focused and naive and just like blinders on about one thing and did not consider the ripple effects of other things that were playing out, because he was so focused on killing the Rakshana. I can't remember what it was. He was so focused on that, he did not think about the consequences of his actions or like things in greater detail, as well as he just had this zoomed in focus. And that's all he thought about, and that was his primary purpose. He did not think about the repercussions of what would happen if he did this and like was also controlling the empire and the repercussions of that. Like he was just young. He was naive and young and short-sighted and yeah, misogynistic. And like I know he was conflicted because of the way he talked to Kaikeyi as well as like his teacher or whatever. I mean, you could tell like he didn't want to be, but he was just conflicted the whole time. Anyway, he didn't do good. He didn't do good there. Ravana, can't trust anybody. Oh my gosh, I was so sad that he ended up being not a pleasant dude, but yeah, he just had a lot of life happen to him. His daughter goes missing in the ground. His wife passes away. And he was just there, shows up at his daughter's betrothal ceremony thing, realizes it's her. He can't marry her, obviously. Ugh. And then he kidnaps her. That's a bummer. So things could have definitely been handled better on everybody's part there. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer that he turned out to not be great. He turned out to not be helpful. Potentially. I don't know. We don't know. Maybe what's-her-face ran to him for protection because Rama was being not nice. And then Sita, oh, that was really hard to see when she, oh, that was Sumitra. Sita. Who is Sita? See, that's an issue I have, is like there's just a lot of similar names. Oh yeah, okay, Sumitra and okay, they're the same. I got them. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Sita. Oh, Sita. Yeah, that was a tough blow. Yeah, she was just so kind and caring and open and welcoming when Kaikeyi first got there. And she just turned so quickly when everything went down and she was just so wrapped up in Rama's little spell. I did not think I would like Kausalya as much. Kausalya reminds me of Nesta. Honestly, yeah, Kausalya reminds me of Nesta. Sita reminds me of Elaine. And Kaikeyi reminds me of Feyre. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And that's in the order. That's their birth order. Okay, anyway, I was bummed that Sita turned out to be not as open as well as like deciphering as to like why Kaikeyi made the decisions that she made. That was a tough loss on that front. All right, last one, ending with the quote here. It is admirable to seek out more knowledge so long as you form your own opinions, is one of the quotes from Kaikeyi. How do we form our own opinions with knowledge? That is such a tough question. I think it's when you are presented with something, as well as like, yeah, you're presented with something that has multiple different viewpoints, but not just taking everything at face value. Also finding facts on things as well, both sides. Everything can be influenced, which is so annoying, especially with research papers and stuff. Like everything is influential and can be spun to favor whatever the person writing it is doing. So yes, taking on other people's opinions, knowing it, and then doing your own research as to why things happen the way they do and whatnot. Forming your own opinions and making sure it's truly yours is something that it resonates with you. That is just tough. Just do your own research on this question and let me know. Moments in the book that I really loved. I loved that when Kaikeyi, her first response to that monster that her and her brother encountered in the woods was she did not want to feel useless again. She wanted to feel strong and powerful. So she was able to get her brother to train her. And she became a wonderful, amazing warrior into fighting her first battle and being the carriage person, can't think, for her husband. And it was scary and not anything that she was prepared for, because, I mean, she, as much as preparation as she thought she had, battle is completely different when it involves actual killing and a lot of adrenaline rush. And she, again, did what she had to do and did it well, made it out alive, kept her husband safe. She just continued to advocate for herself and fight for herself, especially since she knew the gods would not help her. And she could have went completely off the walls, been ballistic, but she recognized her own power, which was just so great. Be scary at times. I mean, the binding place. Wow, what a place to be. And like, she just kept learning about it too. Obviously she continued to do that with caution. It was a really great book. I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook. I mean, I enjoyed reading it, but it was easier for me to listen to the audiobook with it because the pronunciations. The pronunciations of the names tripped me up a lot, and I was so focused on saying the words correctly, the names in my head correctly, than I was with the story itself. So I kind of got a little sidetracked with that. All in all, a really great retelling. And yeah, like I said, I'm interested to see what Ramayana is actually about and where this originally originated from. Let me know down in the comments below any of the questions that I listed, or what your overall thoughts were with Kaikeyi. Well, with that being said, respect others, respect yourself, and do something amazing with your day. Thanks, bye!